much flexibility and it's such a powerful tool that I would highly recommend this if you're a business and you're starting things off. Hello everyone, this is Tuba Zafar, your business coach. And in today's topic, we're going to be discussing how you can organize your small business. So, as a business owner, when you start off, there are so many technologies and so many tools out there, and they're advancing every single day. So, it becomes a little bit difficult to finalize which tools are going to work for you and your business in the shorter and as well as the longer run. So, when you are on your own, you may be able to work off of, let's say, Microsoft Word as well for your day-to-day workflow. However, as you grow, the needs of your business grow alongside with you, and it's important to finalize an application or a tool or an entire system for your business that's going to be sustainable in the longer run, and that can also scale with the requirements of the different teams that you're probably going to be having as well. So I'm going to be talking about some tools that I use on a personal level for my day-to-day tasks, maintaining, some notes, if I have some client meetings, or if I want to be preparing for a meeting as well, or just, jot down some brainstorming ideas for myself. So we're going to first talk about those tools, and then I'm also going to be diving into tools that you can use for your teams and for your business, whether you are within 10 members, or if you are even now a medium or working towards a larger enterprise. And just as a disclaimer, this video is not sponsored, since some of the tools that I'm going to be talking about are from Microsoft itself, and definitely I am a little bit biased towards Microsoft tools. I've been using them for the longest while, and the more and more I get to explore them, the more I feel that they are relevant even as an individual, whether you're a school-going individual, you're going to college, or even when you're looking to work on your own business needs as well. So without further ado, let's start off with personal tools that I use to organize myself. On the top of the list is going to be OneNote. So OneNote is the application that I've been using for the longest while. I've been using this as a student, even during my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. It's extremely helpful to organize based on the relevant subject or the relevant kind of topic that you're going for, and there's tons and tons of flexibility with what you can include on top of it. You can link different kinds of files, so if you have a Word file, an Excel file, and different kinds of resources that you're using for one particular thing, you can just utilize OneNote to have a larger landscape, and it also gives you the ability to share those specific files or those pages with individuals so they can collaborate with you either in real time or just as a PDF as well. So it's pretty versatile. It's kind of like a more friendlier version of Word with a bunch of more capabilities. And so it's definitely one of my go-to tools in terms of taking personal notes or preparing for meetings as well. It's really flexible in terms of usage, so that is definitely highly recommended. Number 2 is going to be Microsoft Planner. So Microsoft Planner is sort of, it can also be looked at as a project management tool. I have had some of my teams utilize Microsoft Planner for their day-to-day workflow as well. It's pretty flexible in terms of how you can set it up. So essentially it's divided into these columns, and you can customize the headings of those columns as well as how you want to be, taking. So for example, if we talk about, again, in terms of project management perspective or just as general day-to-day workflow, there are certain tasks that you are wanting to list down as, hey, this is my to-do list. And then we kind of take them on from active tasks onto tasks that are in progress, on hold, and then finally some of them that end up getting closed. So it's helpful in terms of organizing your day-to-day workflow. So whenever we kickstart our day, we have a daily Scrum meeting. Since we are following the Agile philosophy and the Scrum framework, we can talk about that in a later video as well. And so within that daily scrum, everyone sets their intent for the day. What is it that they worked on yesterday, what they're going to work on today, and if there are any hurdles, that's something that we talk about. And so this Microsoft Planner really helps us understand and see a clear picture of all of the team members that are in your team, what they're up to, and without having to talk to them or have a bunch of follow-ups or getting on, one-on-one calls, you can very easily go to Microsoft Planner and be able to see on a team level as well how everyone is doing, what tasks are pending, and kind of go from there. And so this is also something that I use for my personal organization as well. As I mentioned, this is something you can use either for yourself on a personal level or for your team as well. And so on a personal level, it's a similar thing that I kind of use it for, as listing down some of the things that may not be a part of the project that I am mostly involved in. And so it's a great tool to keep you organized, keep up to date with what are the due dates or the deadlines or the priorities as well. And if we need to break down a task into further pieces and further steps. So for example, I want to have a task where I want to put a YouTube video every week out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a task. I'm going to create subtasks for it. And the subtask can be number 1, recording the video, number 2, editing the video, finalizing, number 3, a thumbnail, number 4, uploading the video, number 4, maybe creating reels out of that video. So every single step that you may need to take, you can list it down in a very concise manner. And again, be able to track the progress as you go along. It really helps you to, again, be on top of things. I've come to realize, and this is something that I've been following for a very long time, that 80% of the work gets done when you are organized and you know what exactly you need to do. And then the rest is, it just kind of comes along. So that was number 2. Number 3 is a similar tool. It's Microsoft To-Do List. It's a little bit, I would say, less flexible than the Microsoft Planner. It's more so something that I use for, something that I want to be done with real quick, or something that's kind of a reminder for myself. So those kind of tasks I put on the to-do list instead of the planner, because they're not that big of tasks that I need to put them on a planner, as they're not going to be consuming a lot of time. So they're kind of like reminders for myself, more or less. And another way that I use to-do lists are, so for example, if you are wanting to work on your HR organization, so we can use this for planning out HR activities as well. For example, if you're wanting to onboard an individual, what's the first step that you're going to be taking up until the last step and everything in the middle. And so it helps you come up with a process, more or less, that you can share with another individual, get it checked, real quick, and be able to track how you're progressing through that checklist while you go through that process on a regular basis. So it's really helpful in that regards as well. The last tool that I use on a personal level is Snagit. So if you're familiar with this, Snagit is extremely helpful when it comes to taking screenshots, video recording, or very basic video editing as well. And so what this tool does is that you're able to capture a screen, on a limited frame, as well as you can take an entire page scrolling down effect as well. You can edit your videos. You can also record your videos within this tool, and it's really great in terms of the capabilities that it provides you when it comes to editing screenshots, or be able to, for example, so I'm going to give you a case example of how I use Snagit. So in terms of software development, there is some QA testing that you need to do. I have done some of that myself as well. So when you're doing QA testing, you want to take a screenshot of the application real quick, or the screen that you're on, and add a feedback over there. Hey, this is not working, or point out an error or a bug. And so you can add call outs real quick over there. Another way to use this is if you're wanting to give somebody a walkthrough of how you're going to be, let's say, utilizing the software itself, then you can have the steps basically. So steps are essentially, you're able to add very easily number 1, 2, 3, and it kind of goes on to show you exactly where everything is. There's tools that enable you to highlight certain options, be able to comment on them. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of Snagit that you can utilize for a bunch of different things, as I just mentioned. And so these are all the tools that I use on a personal level. Now we're going to dive into the tools for your business as you're starting off your team. So number one is going to be Teams, MS Teams, which is a tool that we use for communicating not only internally but externally as well. We're able to set up certain team channels within here as well with restricted access levels. So for example, if you have one organization with maybe two different teams to start off with, and you don't want one team to be able to see what the other team is doing, or even within the same team, if you want to be restricting access to, let's say, certain documents, you're able to create private groups, or you're able to customize the members within those groups as well. MS Teams is directly linked with SharePoint as well, which is another great resource for file management. And with these interlinked together, Teams can become one hub where you're able to manage files, share access with different team members, as well as collaborate internally or externally as well. And so if you want to talk about or discuss more about MS Teams and how this can be configured along with SharePoint and make it one system that you can work out of, I can make another video and you guys can comment down below. And yeah. So with regards to the second tool, it is going to be SharePoint, that is specifically for not only file management. It is a hub that we've also utilized for our learning resources as well. So you're able to, as I mentioned earlier with Teams, so when you create a team channel, that automatically creates a respective site on SharePoint as well. And so you can restrict whatever information you would want to share with individuals directly on SharePoint by customizing the site as well. So you can add in links for saying that, okay, these are the softwares that maybe the marketing team is going to be using. So you can store passwords, quick links over there. You can even have YouTube links embedded within the sites as well, so that it becomes one repository for finding learning resources or finding your relevant documents as well. And so this is extremely helpful, not just for internal resources, but also for external. So the way that we have utilized SharePoint with regards to sharing files externally is that we come up with partner portals or client portals that again have restricted access to which team members can add or remove files, and then also have relevant accesses for the clients as well. It's extremely flexible. There's a ton that you can do with SharePoint. The moment that I realized the amount of flexibility that it has, we have an entire hub that we've created for our organization just on SharePoint, and it's a free tool. So that's the major plus point that we have with SharePoint as well. Number three is going to be a project management tool. So our project management tool of choice is Azure DevOps. Now there are a bunch of other project management tools out there. I've tried Monday.com, I've tried Trello as well, I've tried Jira, and to some extent Asana as well. However, Azure DevOps, although it may seem a little bit more complicated, the amount of features and the amount of flexibility and resource that Azure DevOps has to provide is unparalleled with the other tools that I have used out there that require a ton of customization with your specific usage or requirements as well. Although Azure DevOps, of course, does require some customization if you're, let's say, using another framework. So we, as I mentioned at the start of the videos, that we are utilizing the Scrum framework. And so all of our Azure DevOps is configured as per the Scrum framework. So we have backlog grooming, we have retrospectives, we add our goals directly in there, and we also have some development side features where developers are directly able to add in their configure their codes on a day-to-day basis. And so the flexibility is quite unparalleled. You're able to configure dashboards to be able to see how teams are performing, what the velocity is looking like, what the burn down chart is looking like. So all of those things in terms of project management is a pretty strong tool for that. And again, of course, it is a paid tool. And so, but it's a pretty minimal cost. If you're starting off as a business, you have a small team, it's a pretty great tool that I would recommend you guys to invest in. So if you guys want to again hear more about Azure DevOps and its usage, please comment down below and we can have another video on it and we can talk about it in a little bit more detail. The last tool, and this is my favorite tool to work with for the longest time, ever since I've been introduced to it, I've utilized it on a very, very regular basis. And this is going to be Microsoft Visio. So Visio now also has a free version available on Visio Online. So it's a great tool if you want to be starting out with in terms of brainstorming. I've come up with product roadmaps on Visio. I've come up with a bunch of processes, and it really helps you put your essentially brain out on the table in the easiest manner for anybody to really understand what is it that you're trying to get at. And so I come up with abundant process for my marketing team on Visio, as well as I mentioned, the product roadmaps in terms of the work breakdown structure for the products that I've been involved in as well. And so regardless of which team you're involved in or what your workflow looks like, Visio is an amazing tool. If you want to be using it for brainstorming, you want to come up with mind maps, you want to come up with a business model canvas, BMC in short, or anything at all that can be converted into a flow chart. So in today's time, instead of presentations, people do prefer things to be, as easy as possible. And so flowcharts are a big thing for me, especially when it comes to internal communication or external as well. If I'm trying to get an idea across and I'm trying to get everyone's buy-in or opinion on what they think about a certain thing that I'm proposing, Visio is going to be my tool of choice for that. And so you can create wireframes on it as well. There is so much flexibility and it's such a powerful tool that I would highly recommend this if you're a business and you're starting things off. This is again a pretty open canvas that you can utilize to take your business to the next level and start storing or documenting processes. The way or the reason why I prefer it so much is because as a small business owner, there's so many hats that you have to wear. There's so many things that you're involved in on a day-to-day basis. It becomes really, really difficult to document each and every single thing. And documentation, of course, takes time. So when I came across Visio and I started utilizing it, I did not go back. And so again, I cannot emphasize enough on how much Visio has honestly saved my time and how much of the processes that it has helped me define as well. So highly recommend it if you guys want a more detailed review on Visio and how to utilize it. I can create another video for you guys. So overall, these were the tools that I wanted to talk about. Of course, if I talk on a more generic basis, I do use Google Chrome to have certain pages or the tools that I use, including the ones that I mentioned right now, pinned on there, and have a customized startup screen that really helps me get started with the day rather than having to open up all of the tools or applications on an individual level. So I am pretty organized, I'd say, on a pretty granular level. And of course I have 3 screens on my system, so that makes it a little bit easier for me to keep a track of what I want to have aside with me at all times. So one of my screens is dedicated specifically to OneNote. The other one of my screens, which is my laptop screen, a smaller screen. So I usually put my MS Teams on there or whatever communication tool that I'm using. If a client prefers another communication tool like Zoom or whatever they're using internally, I do keep that on the middle of my screen. And the third screen is a little bit flexible where I'm conducting my research or I'm usually using the rest of my applications as well. So again, as a last point, I really want to emphasize on being organized as a business owner, if you are not clear in terms of what you need to be doing on a day-to-day basis, then you're pretty much setting yourself up for failure. And so commit to the tools. These tools are being utilized on enterprise levels. These are also helpful for small businesses. And as I also mentioned, I've also been using some of these tools ever since I was a student. And well, if you guys want any more details on this, we can have separate video. And I hope this was helpful to you guys. And until next time, take care of yourselves and thank you for watching.